This is your Neepawa Town Council Debrief for the January the 16th, 2024 meeting. This week's program is divided into two parts due to the length of this week's meeting. In the second half, Councillor Parrott reports on the residency program for new doctors in the community, and Councillor Sisley gives the most recent handy van usage numbers, as well as reminds everyone that this year's Winter Festival has been moved to the Sunday of the L'Oreal Day weekend and will include evening activities. Manager of Operations Denise Sakay is, as he says, deep into budgeting for the new year. The waterline project to service the hospital has started construction as of this month, and the training center is now complete and in use, although the grand opening was postponed due to the winter weather. His main focus at this meeting, however, was reminding residents once again not to dump grease, which includes any cooking oils, down residential drains. This time he's able to put some numbers to the problem, indicating that many staff hours are being spent on sewer servicing, and the rapid response vehicle that can do emergency works to clear the pipes will cost taxpayers around $600,000. The new development on the old CN property, which is only a couple of years old, is already seeing plugged pipes. Sakay is suggesting much stronger measures to ensure that residents are taking the problem seriously, as it is causing a great deal of damage and costing the town a significant amount of money. NECTV also plans to do a deeper dive into this problem and welcomes viewer contributions to that upcoming program.
I'll ask Manager of Operations, Denise.
Hey, Riley. I'd like to mention that we've been deep into budget, so I've been working on that and starting to create a presentation for council. As council mentioned, we had an infrastructure meeting, and just prior to that, we also had a liaison meeting with Manager of Infrastructure. We invited them over just kind of go over some of our future projects, either with the 24 or 25 or just multi-year projects, just to ensure that they're aware of them, that they have no concerns, and that we can just kind of expedite the permit process as I've already been briefed on them. Snow, we've had a lot of it. It's finally becoming more manageable right now. We still again ask the public to be patient and respectful to staff when they're out there working. We do our best to clear the streets off, and we are out there again continually cleaning off gutter lines and any snow piles that are still remaining around. Staff have also been going around clearing the back lane sidewalks, and anywhere where there's parked cars that kind of impeded snow clearing, they're trying to clear out those zones now that the cars have been moved. So I said, the slow process, but the streets overall look pretty good, and now we're getting to sanding so that we can kind of get rid of that icy, slippery stuff we don't like. Unfortunately, we've had some water treatment plant issues over at the Oberon well site, and our PLC's been damaged, so we're currently looking at repairs for that one. We don't have any price estimates, but I think we're hoping that as early as this week, we may see some repairs functioning there. So that Oberon well site is down right now, and all our focus would be in Marsden, so we're just kind of lucky it's that time of year where we're not using as much water. There's also this council perimeters. We also have our training centers open. Everything seems to be going well. No real concerns there. We've had a few minor plumbing issues, but we're trying to resolve those out as to why we're seeing some issues. So it's either some ongoing issues with the old infrastructure, but we'll get that resolved in time. And we have two other big projects. We've got our contractor Swift Underground has been starting the water project that will do the loop towards the hospital. So they've been working on that project, started some drilling. They're working in the Hillcrest area today. So that project is ongoing. Unfortunately, there's had some cold weather to deal with. Rob Smith and Son was awarded the second contract. We have not seen any action there yet because they're still just in the signing the contract stage and probably procuring some of the materials required for it. But the more concerning one is staff time being spent on sewer mains again. Like it's surfacing again as a major problem with grease disposal. As late as today, we were out with a main that was completely plugged. Again, these affect your neighbors down the street, so whenever your negligence and complete ignorance dumping stuff that shouldn't go down the drains or your sewer, it causes a lot of damage. We'll have to start discussing some fines or something, and we have to go to a firmer process, and whether those fines are $500, $1,000, we need something to hit people in the pocketbook because they are damaging infrastructure, they're flooding homes now. We're looking at a truck that's in our budget coming up that's almost $600,000 just so we have rapid response on this.
Is it possible to do a video scope of a personal sewer drain into the main?
So that is the thought I have. So we'll say that this street is a suspecting street. We may be issuing $1,000 fines to each of you. Your appeal process will be to allow us to go in there and televise your personal sewer line going towards the main. If 3 of the 4 of you are obviously clear with no remnants of grease completely plugging the sewer, your $1,000 fine is obviously null and void. But Colleen is a suspect, her fine sticks.
As always.
So I think we have to look at some major measures here.
Sorry, it was Christmas.
Yeah.
Well, and you know, one of the things I think everybody should understand is grease is also called cooking oil,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So
Residue in a pan.
So
anything that's not water.
we are seeing old infrastructure plugs. We are seeing brand new
Brand new.
infrastructure. Pipes on the CN site that are 2 years old are already plugging on us. So, and we're not talking 100 houses doing this. This is 2 or 3 that are dumping enough volume of grease down to plug a sewer main that's 8 inches in diameter.
That's a lot. Yeah. It's a lot of grease. That's a lot of grease.
So we'll be discussing this at a committee level and try to come up with some ideas. But that's all the good news I have.
Okay, thank you, Denise.
It's time to renew the annual agreement to handle Dutch elm disease, which this year includes some increases to the amounts the town is reimbursed for tree removals. Neepawa has seen several such removals over the past few years, which are intended to stop or at least slow the progress of the disease. While this amount is appropriate for a boulevard tree, trees in backyards and other locations that require more careful handling are a lot costlier.
Dutch elm disease and urban forest management, the 2024-25 community forest grant agreements. So every year there's information sent out regarding the program and about managing your urban forest canopy, and we get a community forest grant agreement that comes to us. The agreement that we currently have is automatically renewing, but will be ending on March 31st, 2024. So before we get our new grant agreement that will come into effect April 1st, 2024, they're sharing some information that will be changing. The new agreement will involve increases to the tree removal reimbursement rates and the minimum financial support level, as well as changes to the tree removal and reporting deadlines. So the new rates will be $226 for every tree marked that is a size of 10 to 30 centimeters, $452 for trees between 31 and 79 centimeters in diameter, and $678 for every tree that is 80 centimeters or greater. So the minimum annual funding per community will be now $2,380 regardless of the number of trees that have been marked. It has been shown that removing infected elm trees early slows the spread of Dutch elm disease and continue to promote the rapid removal of infected elm trees in managed communities. The tree removal deadline has been changed to February 28th, better reflecting seasonal and biological timelines that impact the spread of Dutch elm disease. Manitoba will continue to work cooperatively with any community that requires additional time to complete the removals up until April 1st.
Is that a granting amount to offset the cost of the agreement?
It doesn't,
Like, is that what it's designed to do?
technically yes, but it doesn't quite often cover because especially if you're an older community and you've got trees that are massive, it can be very costly to take trees down. So unless Denise wants to speak to this, we try to manage a lot of the smaller trees ourselves and.
Right.
These prices are completely reasonable for a boulevard tree. It's what complicates is if we have to go into a backyard and you have to handball every single little piece out, because if you're talking a large diameter tree and you can't get equipment in it, they've got fences up or there's building structures. That's what becomes very tedious and expensive. Likewise, if it's in the middle of the park in the back bush where they've got a CP,
Right.
we either burn it on site or we have to You can't carry every branch out to production, so it becomes those fees.
In 2014, the town applied to the province for a speed limit change on PTH 16 starting east of town at the HyLife processing plant. While the request was denied, the town resubmitted in 2020. The province has now completed their review and has once again denied the change. However, they've indicated a willingness to review it again when the new hospital and high school are closer to completion. The hospital is scheduled to open in 2025, and the high school will follow in 2027. Both will lead to substantially increased traffic volumes along the stretch of highway in question. The town has been requesting that speed limit for that stretch be dropped to 80 kilometers an hour from the current 100.
Oh, and I guess we have unfinished business, PTH 16 speed change. Colin?
So in 2014, the town submitted an application to have the speed zone from basically the HyLife corner to the 80 kilometer sign east of Neepawa, also reduced to 80 kilometers. We were denied that request and resubmitted in 2020, so this is now 24. The result of that application is Manitoba Transportation and Infrastructure engaged an external service provider to complete the review. The review considered the geometric features of the roadway, the environment surrounding the roadway, operating speeds, traffic volumes, and the reported collision history. The review concluded that there were no technical reasons indicating a need to revise the current 100 km/h speed limit at this time. When the initial request for a change speed limit cannot be supported on its technical merits, the request is automatically reconsidered by an interdepartmental review committee. The IRC upheld the technical recommendation to leave the speed limit unchanged, however, directed that it be reviewed again once Neepawa's ongoing hospital and school developments are closer to completion. MTI acknowledges community concerns about road safety, especially where the new hospital and school access PTH 16. On that basis, we are committing to another review when those facilities are ready to open, and we'll update you as this review moves forward. And of course, they offer us the opportunity to discuss this further with the department at our meetings.
Okay, any questions?
It's good that they're open to
Yeah.
reviewing it again.
Disappointing answer, but yeah, certainly be inviting them out again.
A joint venture between the town of Neepawa and HyLife for an industrial wastewater treatment facility back in 2009 has reached the end of its life cycle. The partnership allowed HyLife to access approximately $13 million in federal, provincial, and municipal funding towards the $25.5 million price tag for the facility. Now that more than 10 years of continuous operation have passed, they are preparing to conclude the agreement and convey all interests the town has in the facility to HyLife.
So the first item on your agenda is R3 Innovations, and this is the industrial wastewater treatment facility out at HyLife. And just very quickly, to summarize it, boxes and boxes of paperwork in a file that lasts forever. The town of Neepawa and Spring Hill entered into a joint venture agreement on April 14, 2009 for the co-ownership of the new industrial wastewater treatment facility known as R3 Innovations now. And at that time also to provide for the development, construction, and operation of that facility. This relationship evolving during this time period from Spring Hill to High Tech to now HyLife. A further agreement dated September 1st, 2011 amended the facility operations and maintenance agreement to ensure that the relationship for maintenance and operations was outlined. So 2011 important to the fact that now R3 Innovations was completed and under the control and operations of HyLife. As per the terms of the 2009 joint venture agreement, HyLife was given the right to acquire the town's interest in the industrial wastewater treatment facility joint venture. If the acquisition occurred within the first 10 years of the agreement, HyLife was obligated to repay that portion of the provincial and federal funding that was given to construct the industrial wastewater treatment facility for a value that remained outstanding as per a declining obligation over a 10-year period. So what that means is the grant funding that came forward on year one, it was reduced proportionately over a 10-year period till it got to zero. Should HyLife successfully operate the facility for a period of 10 years plus, however, the agreement stipulated that the funding obligation to Manitoba and Canada would be satisfied, and they could, HyLife could exercise this option to acquire all rights of ownership to R3 Innovations by way of, I say simple conveyance to town, but it's really not that simple, but it is a requirement. HyLife has now initiated a request as per the terms of the 2009 agreement to have the town's interest in R3 innovations conveyed wholly to HyLife. This request will also take into consideration the conventional system that predated the construction of R3 innovations, which also now serves to assist with treatment operations at HyLife. So the recommendation based on the signatures on the document in 2009 that in compliance with those terms of the joint venture agreement is the recommendation of administration that we proceed with the conveyance as outlined in that agreement. And that as part of doing so, any and all matters that need to be addressed for easements, licensing, continued infrastructure, whatever, be taken into consideration to successfully conclude the terms of the joint venture agreement and outline any future relationship we will have with HyLife. And of course, we have to speak about a water supply. So we have met with HyLife, we've talked about this. This is just now to formally proceed with the signatures on those documents. So I'm just going to back these all up to understand what HyLife meant in 2009. $25.5 million was put into the pot to actually create HyLife. Canada and Manitoba, each contributing, 5.9 million each for a total of 11.8 million. The town of Neepawa seen benefit in doing 1.5 million towards that project. So there was 13.3 million that came on board from municipal, provincial, and federal funding. HyLife, on the other hand, had to match the 1.5 with Neepawa as a requirement, and then put additional monies in. So they actually provided 12.2 million to that. So that's why the partnership was roughly 50-50. So as per the agreement, the recommendation is that we proceed in concluding the terms of that agreement and move on with a relationship that will actually reflect where we're going in the future.
Back in 2004, Manitoba Transportation and Infrastructure created a PTH-16 Neepawa functional design study outlining future development along the highway that passes through the town. Because of this, every development along Highway 16 references this plan, and a certain portion of land is set aside to allow for that future development. While the province is not proceeding with the plan at this time, the town of Neepawa will be putting forward 2 lots of land in its industrial park for the province to purchase if they wish them to remain available. We have seen this plan referenced several times over the past few months, including the recent active transportation study, infrastructure development such as the water lines and access roads to the new hospital, and in the new development bylaws for the municipality of North Cypress Langford, which borders Neepawa at Highway 16. If you're interested in learning more about this functional plan, it is available in its entirety on the Town of Neepawa website.
Proposed sale to MTI.
So this next topic was born out of discussions we recently had with Manitoba Transportation and Infrastructure. So I'm going to go back a bit. In 2004, a functional design was created for a 4-lane divided limited access facility to go through the town of Neepawa for improvements that would see meridians and whatnot, and improve safety and security for Neepawa. Every time a subdivision or some action takes place along PTH-16 through Neepawa, the Department of Manitoba Transportation and Infrastructure comments on those particular applications, and more specifically subdivisions or requiring just access points onto the highway, because they align everything that occurs with this functional design that was created in 2004. So back in, I think it was 2017 or 16, when we did our first subdivision for the industrial park out east of town here, we were required to make sure that when we did our subdivision, that we set aside the appropriate amount of land that fit precisely with adhering to the functional design that was created in 2004. Because as that goes forward and the province needs to acquire those lands, they want to make sure no development happens on those pieces of property so that they've secured them. What occurred though is we did actually set aside parcels 4 and 5 in our first phase of our industrial subdivision as subdivided parcels. But then we sat with ownership of those and have done ever since. So that means we can't tax on them, we really get no revenue from them. So in discussions with the department last week, as much as they cannot proceed with the functional design at this point in time, the recommendation was, because it is a lot of a lesser value than what it would be in capital to create the whole functional design, they would put forward into their queue recommendations up to their purchasing department so that they actually bought those pieces from us. I guess the bottom line is to use terms such as, they can't keep calling dibs on property along that whole length to create that functional design and then not be prepared to purchase it. Because this also affects private landowners, and when we go to do land use planning and look at subdivisions and actions that are taken in Neepawa along PTH 16, we recommend and give advice to everybody, and we're telling them what to do with their land, knowing that MTI is also going to put a stop on whatever they're planning to do and alter the course of their decisions. So she said, put forth the pieces of land we've already identified for this functional design east of Neepawa, and see if they will make that purchase and at least get them into their queue for the creation of this functional design at some point. Any questions? That's a lot of years to try and understand all this. So recommendation of administration is we get them to buy them, we get a little bit of tax base on them.
Okay, motion reads, whereas in 2004, the province of Manitoba and the councils of the town of Neepawa, and then at that time, the rural municipality of Langford endorsed a long-range plan for the upgrading of PTH 16 through the town of Neepawa, whereas PTH 16 Neepawa functional design continues to guide the development along PTH 16 through Neepawa to ensure minimal conflict between land development and highway. And whereas although the functional design was long-range planning document to ensure the proposed design could be achieved as opportunities arose, the province committed to proceeding with property acquisition and service road construction preparation for completing the project. And whereas Neepawa's growth and development over the last 10 years has given rise to certain opportunities for the province to advance their interests in securing a greater percentage of the required property of PTH 16 improvements. Therefore, be it resolved that the town of Neepawa requests the Department of Transportation and Infrastructure to consider moving forward with the purchase of various pieces of property adjacent to the PTH 16 that will be required to complete the PTH 16 improvements. Be further resolved that the town of Neepawa proposed to sell the province of Manitoba lots 4 and 5, Plan 59490 in Southeast 13, 14, 15, rolls 8930 and 8935. These parcels purposely subdivided as part of the subdivision 4437-14-7432 to facilitate the PTH 16 functional design. Moved by Deputy Mayor Parrott. Seconded by Councillor Klastenchuk. All in favor? Opposed? Carried.
Finally, the town has set its new campground and swimming pool rates for 2024. These include several changes to swimming pass categories and age ranges. Because the bathing load, which limits the number of people allowed in the pool at a given time, includes anyone in the pool area, including the deck, changes have been made to include everyone in the rate structure, regardless of age or whether or not they are intending to swim.
Campground rates.
So the next few items is probably, seems like we were already talking about camping with it being minus 45 or 50 below out there, and of course swimming pool rates, but we need to set these rates fairly early because the advertising will start to promote, that we have full capacity in summer. So the campground rates, the recommendation based on reviewing neighboring communities and whatnot, that we just increase across the board $2 per stay.
Okay, the motion is be it resolved we approve the increase of $2 a night stay at Riverbend Campground effective for 2024 with new rates as follows. Full service $37, water electric $32, electric $27, and no services $22. Moved by Councillor Pottinger, seconded by Councillor Klastenchuk. Any questions? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. 13, swimming pool.
Swimming pool as well, what we're recommending is basically a 25-cent increase on single admission rates and a $10 increase on seasonal passes. Just season passes include all programs, public swim, aquafit, lap swim, family swim. No longer offering the monthly laps, or offering lap swim and aquafit. We're finding that the numbers are extremely, extremely low, and we could accommodate them with season passes instead. Anyone coming to the pool during public swim basically must pay now So what we've done is take a look at the categories and revamp the categories. And why this is important, and there might be a little pushback because of preschoolers and little ones. You actually spend more time monitoring, supervising the little people than you do others that start to know how to swim. And because everybody that enters the pool area is counted as a number towards your bathing load under the regulation for the province of Manitoba, those that are coming in that maybe you're just sitting there and having a coffee count towards reducing that bathing load, which means the people that want to pay can't get in yet. So in the review that was done by Nicole Cooper to justify where we're going with categories for these rates, she looked at various pools across West Bend, and this is actually how they function. If you're in the pool area, you're a number. You have to be supervised as well, because maybe you have a heart attack, or maybe, you leave your child. The point is, there's supervision for everybody now, and everybody pays. So there's a new category for children under the age of 2. They will be admitted free with a paid caregiver admission, but they still have to, have supervision and all of the things that come with that. So it's really about bathing load and responsibility, even if you're not swimming. So I don't know if there's any questions.
So your season pass does not cover just the public swim?
Yes, it
Yeah.
does. It covers
Season pass
everything
covers
now.
everything.
So it's gone up a little bit in
Yeah.
price, but now it's all encompassing.
Better deal.
It's a way
Yeah,
better
it
deal.
is a way better deal.
But it allows us to free up those, for example, lap swim was very early in the morning, and because we always have a problem with the number of lifeguards we have, and you still, because some of the swimmers were saying, I know how to swim, you don't need to worry about me. No, because the pool is regulated as a public facility, there has to be a lifeguard there. So when we have to start adding lifeguards and extending the hours of the day, then we don't have enough coverage across the complement of the day and in the bulk of the patrons that actually come. So what we said was those people can still do laps and whatnot, buy the season pass, come whenever you want, and we'll try and figure out how to accommodate you best. And clearly they're not coming when there's 100 kids bouncing around the pool, but there are lots of open spots in the day. The lifeguards have actually confirmed that they see no reason why we can't accommodate everybody there.
And it also, in the conversation about this at our RED meeting, was that we don't have to have that extra staff at the tilt, because everybody for lap swim and all of that will have the season pass. So it takes away from that need of that extra body as well.
So if you get feedback that differs, we're gonna see how it works out. It works out in many of the pools. I think I attached some different pool rates for you, so.
The bathing load makes complete sense, because we've seen cases where we don't allow people into the pool area because we're at capacity, even though we're not swimmers at capacity. The deck is at capacity.
It's inclusive of the fence.
Yeah.
They can slip and fall just as easily as anybody else.
So if you're sitting on the other side of the fence, fine. But yeah, it's. Mhm.
Also covered were the RCMP quarterly report, the town's waste reduction rebate, an appeal for funds from Stars Air Ambulance, a council appointment to Westlake Employment, the 2024 Westman Regional Library levy, some bylaw changes around the new policies and rates at the public pool, the regular financial report, appointment of the weed control supervisor, sale of the old fire hall lot on First Avenue, and the 2024 tax sale set for November 6th. This was a particularly long meeting, and there are several items that could not fit in this debrief. So if you're interested in any of these topics, please see the end-to-end coverage of the meeting, which is available elsewhere in the NACTV schedule, as well as on our YouTube channel. If you have comments, questions, or topics that we might be able to shine some light on, please reach out at 204-476-2639 or by email at nactvnews@gmail.com. Thank you for joining me, and I hope to see you next time.